Hey guys, this is Psychology of Games here. I wanted to talk a little bit about PTSD and some therapies that we're using to help it out. You read the title. It says, "Can video games cure PTSD?" Now, I will want to start off by saying that cure is a word that we don't really like using in the psychology field, just because curing a disease usually means that you've eradicated all parts of that disease. With disorders, you don't really eradicate all parts of a disorder. Instead, you treat a majority of the parts. Ultimately, you want to find a root cause, and you want to be able to treat the root cause so that you can solve the problems from within, and it answers a lot of the problems without having to deal with all the symptoms. However, a lot of times if you can't do that, answering the symptoms with drug therapies or just a variety of other therapies is sometimes something that you have to do. With PTSD, it's often the second thing. We can't solve the root cause because it's kind of difficult to go through and answer all the problems that are affecting their subconscious. So instead, what we do is we hit the symptoms. And psychiatrists might look at the symptoms and go, well, we can use this, I don't know, stimulant here. We could try this out. We could try this out. Maybe we can just dampen all of your things with certain anti-anxiety medications, and we could try this or that. They just try out a variety of medications, and usually they help. A lot of times they don't, but usually after trying out a few different medications, something will help. But there are a lot of therapies out there, and therapies are not you sitting on a bench waiting for someone to ask you about your childhood. In fact, that's a very small subset of therapies. Most therapy is, in fact, using some sort of conditioning to affect your subconscious, meaning people are using these gimmicks that train your subconscious to do something different when something happens. So we're going to talk about something called exposure therapy today, which is where you're exposed into something so that it affects your subconscious. Say, for instance, you're afraid of spiders. They might show you spiders getting closer and closer to you and showing you that you're fine. You're not being affected. It's not hurting you. The spiders are just there. They're just kind of doing their own thing, right? And that's essentially what the effect of exposure therapy is. But something that's kind of cool about exposure therapy that not a lot of people know is in the last 10 years or so, maybe even longer than that, we've been integrating video games into exposure therapy. And I want to show a few studies that brings up some of these particular things. So the first one I wanted to show was spiders. We're using virtual reality to show that spiders aren't going to hurt you, that you're perfectly fine. And there's a variety of images that you can see in different parts of these studies where you see spiders that are showing up and they don't hurt you. You're perfectly fine. So people can get over their irrational fear of spiders and still have more of an understanding relationship with spiders where they go, hey, I don't really want to be near you, but I'm not going to become petrified if I see you. And it's because you keep seeing this image over and over and over, and your subconscious keeps realizing you're fine by seeing this image. You're perfectly fine. This thing has been working for phobias for a long time, and there's been a variety of exposure therapies and variations of things like systematic desensitization, as well as flooding, and just a lot of different versions of showing you a lot of the things that you're scared of and giving you more and more and more, and using different variations of these therapies trains your subconscious not to be afraid, not to be anxious of these things, which is really fascinating. But the coolest part about this is as our technology gets better, we can use this for our soldiers. We can train our soldiers' subconscious to realize that a loud bang won't hurt you. That a loud bang is just a loud bang. And then your subconscious will slowly go from being terrified to being petrified, to keep going into the fight or flight every time that these things happen, to just realizing that these are just loud bangs and they're nothing that affects you. And the cool part about this is this science is growing and we are perfecting it. So while I'm not saying PTSD is going to be a thing of the past, what I am saying is that the more these games come out that these psychologists will look at and answer these particular stimulus that cause all of these problems, we can actually go through and pick which things work and which things don't. There's this particular study that they were showing the results of this program, and they described it as showing these vets going through, seeing everything that they're afraid of, and showing them it's not that big of a deal. And people explain this as they had a Wizard of Oz person who could control the situation and who could make things happen exactly how they wanted them to happen. And the cool part is that we are finally having companies partner up with these psychologists. Bethesda, a company that made Skyrim, Fallout, and a variety of other games, has worked with psychologists to create a engine that can make psychology a lot easier to treat these different things. They made it specifically for a condition that's shown in children, which I'll link that in the description below, and I want to do another video particularly on that. But the cool part about this is that when we start getting all these companies working with it, we're going to get some really cool treatments that are fun. I mean, could you imagine a lot of people, they don't want to go in to get something treated because they think therapy is something weird and something that only like lame people do, that it's just dumb. But what they're going to realize is you're going to be able to go into therapy, play a video game for an hour, and feel better at the end of it. And the cool part that we might see in the future, and I'd love to hear everyone's comments about this, if you think it's possible that we might start seeing this in the future. I think that we may start seeing a take-home therapy, something that we don't see too much. A lot of therapies, the therapist wants to watch. They want to make sure that everything's going the way that it should be, and you shouldn't be freaking out over something. But I think what could be cool is we could have psychologists work with developers and create a video game that has a chapter system, where in chapter 1, you solve one problem. And that problem isn't just solving a problem in the game, it's solving a problem in your subconscious. It's answering specific things, and it starts out really light, so you don't freak out. Maybe lighter noises, maybe things like, I don't know, a cup moving across a table that makes a slight sound that you hear in your ear, that you look over to it and realize it's nothing, and the sounds get louder, and by chapter 8, there's gunshots happening around you, and you're perfectly fine. And I think that's something that's really cool, is this could decrease the cost of a lot of therapy, which is causing these veterans to not go and get therapy. A lot of them are having medical costs that they can't deal with. It's taking too much time out of their day because therapists are usually 9 to 5. And if you have a job, it's probably 9 to 5. So you don't have any time to go see your therapist. So having a take-home therapy that maybe your therapist could look in on your results, that it could record how you did, and they can go back and look at your results and see, oh, well, they did good in chapter 1, but they had a problem here, and they could adjust chapter 2 before you do chapter 2. So it could still be something that they watch on and they double check, but it could definitely decrease the cost of therapies as well as improve the results of therapies. As of 2015, we've been using a version of exposure therapy in the military for a long time, and that's definitely something it's going to be improving. But I just wanted to hear everyone's comments. If you didn't know about these, then now you do. Comment, tell me what you think about it. If you did already know about exposure therapy, as well as we're using virtual reality therapy, we're using a variety of other ones. There's a particular virtual reality therapy that's working on improving the hypothalamus in order to help with spatial memory as well as depression, which I'd like to do another video on that later. But I just wanted to hear what everyone thinks about this. And I would like to also tell everyone about our contest that we're running, which we are doing this contest. It is a subscribe contest. We're trying to reach certain marks so that we can start running studies that will improve the video game industry. That's our goal anyway. So we would like to get some more subscribers. If by any chance you like psychology or you like video games, we're going to be doing videos like this, but we're also going to just do videos where we are playing video games, we're having fun. If you're a fan of this and you want to play video games with us, feel free to comment some games that you play, and we might hop in, play a few games. We can answer some questions. Overall, feel free to subscribe if you do like these. If not, please comment. But as always, I will say, if you're going to comment, comment with logic. If you're going to have an argument, play the devil's advocate on your own argument before you sit there and argue all day in the comments and just waste everyone's time. So comment with logic, and definitely subscribe. If you liked it, like it. Otherwise, check out some of our other videos. We will be doing an entire Psychology 101 course online, which we're going to be relating it to video games throughout the entire thing. So if you like video games, not just video games, but board games, books, some other games, we're going to be explaining all the terms very simply, easily, so you can go through and learn all of that. If you are interested in any of that, again, feel free to subscribe, and hopefully I see you guys later.